Good morning, Arsene.
Morning.
Back into the Premier League now. Could you give us your team news for the game against Reading for the weekend?
The team news from compared to last game is, of course, Wilshere will still be out. Walcott is out because he got injured with England. Gibbs is sick, in bed. I don't know if he will be involved or not. At the moment, we don't know. We haven't seen him in the last 3 days. Diaby has a little problem that we have to check. And for all the other players, we have to see now how they come back from the international games, but we have no major injury problem.
That international break, it didn't really work for you because you hit a bit of form with the Bayern win and then a great win at Swansea.
Yes, we just want to continue our form, and Bayern and Swansea is a good inspiration to continue our running now. There's 9 games to go. We play 5 at home, 4 away, and with the form we have shown at Bayern and at Swansea, I think we have a very good chance to finish in the top 4.
It's the business end of the season, as you say. How much will you lean on the experience of last year where you overturned it?
We have the experience of a few years, and we have especially a special desire to do it together, and that's a good opportunity for us because we are back with a very good chance to do it, and we want to take and grab this chance.
Just finally for me, it's Reading at the weekend, a new manager in there. Is there something different when a new manager takes charge in his first game?
A little bit, yes. There's always a bit concentration, hope, but I think Brian had done an excellent job there, and now similar to Atkins at Southampton, you know, so he got a chance again. So it's sad to see Brian McDermott go, and but we will be on our toes, and of course know that we play against a team who fights not to go down, but we fight to be in the top 4, and therefore it's just important we focus on what we want to do.
Could you tell us a bit more about Gibbs? Is it flu or?
Flu.
Okay. And what would you rate his chances at the moment? Is it just
I
too
don't
early to
know. We haven't yet not practiced in the last few days.
Walcott's been injured with England. You expressed concerns last month that Wilshere played the full 90 minutes against Brazil. Is it a conversation you need to have with England about how are you concerned at the way they manage your players?
No, I have no conversation with the manager, especially when it's competitive games, when they fight for points. He uses the players like he wants to do it. I don't interfere in that. When it's friendly, you try always to influence a bit in your favor when it's needed. I believe that every manager does that, but when it's competitive like it was in the last 2 games, just let the manager get on with it.
If you were laying down the law, as it were, I mean, how would you? What's the ideal way an international manager should manage one of your players? How do they show the respect?
There's no ideal way. The international manager is under pressure to deliver wins, you know, and he just uses the players like he thinks it's right to do it, and it's more communication with the medical department, between the 2 medical departments, because sometimes you have to send the player away who is already half injured but still plays, and so it's more important that there's a good communication between the 2 medical departments, that you say, for example, be careful in the next 2 days, give him a rest, you know, and that is more important. After, when the games come, the manager has to choose the players who can help him to win the games.
So you've no concerns about how England manage your players?
No, we have a good relation, and I'm not concerned about that. Walcott is an accident that could have happened here.
Is Wilshere's injury, is it better or worse than you thought?
We know it's not better nor worse. Because it was an inflammation of his bone, and we had such history with him, we are a bit more cautious when we would be with you or with me.
What do you mean by
with
that?
you especially.
You've closed the gap on Tottenham in recent weeks. Do you feel as if you're turning the screw on them psychologically, having overcome them in 2006 for the Champions League and of course last season?
We know that if we are consistent, we will do it. So we do not focus on Tottenham at all. We focus on the way we want to play and on our results. If we are consistent in the last 9 games, we will do it.
Do you sense, though, that given the history they've had in the last sort of 5-6 years of going for the Champions League, they made it once but didn't make it on 2 other occasions, that sometimes, it just appeals to human nature, doesn't it, when they've had bad experience, sometimes it rests in the mind?
Well, honestly, we don't have any speculation on any weakness of our opponent. We just think is a number of wins you want, and it can be to get in front of them or of anybody else. Nobody is out of reach apart from Manchester United.
You have, on paper anyway, better fixtures than they have over the next 5 games. You'd probably say that if history's anything to go by, the next 5 are quite kind to you until you welcome United to.
I haven't seen, honestly, any kind fixture since the start of the season, and the results in the Premier League have shown that. When you fight against a team who fights not to go down in the Premier League, you prepare just yourself to be at your best, knowing that it can be very difficult. What we want is to be inspired by our last 2 games and go into the next one with the same attitude. And I'm sure we will.
Just a final question on Reading. How good is it to see Nigel Adkins back? Because I presume you probably thought he was unfairly sacked by Southampton, as most people did.
Yes, it's good to see him back, like it was sad to see Brian McDermott go, because both of them are, for me, similar. They've done fantastically well with their club, and so it's always good to see that they get a chance again.
Arsene, when do you expect Jack to be back?
Honestly, it's very difficult. I believe in 2 weeks on Sunday. That means not the next game, the game after.
Right. Who will start in goal for you this week?
We'll let you know on Saturday.
Right, so have you decided yourself?
I know what I want to do, yes.
Right. Nigel Adkins, do you think he's got a point to prove? Because, as was said earlier, I think we were all very surprised when he got sacked. Do you think he has a bit of a point to prove? Well,
I just think you don't act like that. You just want to do your best when you're manager, and that's what he wants to show, that he has the quality to be where he is. That means the Premier League.
There have been a lot of goals in the 2 matches between Arsenal and Reading so far this season. Are we going to expect another goal fest?
Don't know. We want to score goals, of course, and not concede. And we'll have our usual offensive attitude and try to score. But they just come back from Man United where we lost 1-0, so they had a little bit more cautious defensive approach, and so we don't know what kind of approach they will have.
And a word on England this week. How is it that a team can one half play so well and then the next half play so poorly? I mean, do you have any ideas as to how?
There's so many reasons in our game that most of the time it's down to the opponent, and you could be in a press conference where people from Montenegro say exactly the same to their coaches. How can we play so bad in the first half and so well in the second? That's just the mystery of human beings, because a lot of it is linked with psychological problems. Sometimes it's linked with physical problems, and sometimes as well with technical problems, because if you're not capable to keep the ball, you're more suspect to be under pressure. I just seen Spain against France, but they have over 70% of the time the ball, so they are less under pressure.
But it's very frustrating for the manager, though, isn't it?
It is very frustrating for the manager, because you see sometimes, it takes very little to destabilize a team. You can sometimes play very well for 30 minutes. One player loses one ball where he shouldn't do, and the opponent has a goal chance, and the whole thing is suddenly unstable. It's very fragile, but that's why it's very interesting as well.
Arsene, just to check on a couple of players. Lucas Podolski, is he going to be available?
Yes,
And Bakary Sagna, the knee injury?
he's available, he's back.
Great. Just on Jack, how difficult is it going to be for you now to manage his fitness in the run-in? Because I'm sure he will want to play every game he can, but he has this long-standing
We
problem.
will rest him when it is needed, when it will needed to be arrested. He has regular scans, and as soon as we have an alert, we will respect it, no matter what is at stake.
What's his state of mind like at the moment? Because he must be frustrated, because he's very competitive, isn't he? He wants to play.
He is. He had different moment, of course, when you told him, because he didn't feel any special pain, but he knows that he has to take care of his future, because he's a very young player. I think he accepts it.
You mentioned about England and the friendlies and trying to manage those situations. England have a double header at the end of the season with Ireland and Brazil, those two friendly games. Presumably you wouldn't want Jack to be involved in that.
If he's selected, he will go. It depends what kind of shape he will be, you know. If he has no problems, why not? You cannot... it's a job where you need to take to play, and where you have a physical gamble, but he doesn't need any special treatment, Jack. We just have to be cautious with the inflammations sometimes of his ankle when it happens, but if he has no problem, why not?
You don't think he'd benefit from a proper long summer off?
He has been out for 17 months, you know. He will want to play, what I can understand.
And just on Wojciech, have you had to speak to him at all this week after the comments that his father made during the interview?
I haven't spoken to him, and I believe he responded very well. You know, there's not a lot more to say. We are in a competitive world. He's nearly played 100 games for this club at his age. That is absolutely fantastic. And the rest, we are ups and downs in our form, and we have to fight against that, and that's what he said, basically.
You said in Munich that you felt he needed a rest.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel he's benefited from that now?
I believe so, yes.
Is that rest?
He has a great future. He's a very young goalkeeper. You do not find many goalkeepers at his age who have the experience he has already, and that's why I believe he has a great future. But he lives in a world where competition exists.
And just finally for me, there's a lot of speculation that you might sign a goalkeeper in the summer. Do you think that Wojciech would accept that competition if you were to bring a player in?
Well, that is only speculation as well. It's in the newspapers. A lot of people speak about that, but we are not specially after anybody. What is important is we look how we finish the season, how well we play, and make the decision to buy and to sell at the end of the season. And this will be influenced by the way we play now in our last 9 games.
Arsene, initially you suggested Jack would be back for this Reading game. Is there anything that has not gone to plan in his rehabilitation?
Yes, we deferred a little bit 1 week, his rehab. You know, we gave him 1 more week rest because it was wise medically to do it.
Do you kind of understand where maybe England are coming from, that they say they're not England, and I mean, people say Arsenal are not the same team without Jack Wilshere, and also now it's been labelled for England, they said, oh, if he'd been out there, it would have been a different result. Is that too much pressure on them?
Yes. Country doesn't depend on one player, no matter how good he is. I believe what is the quality of a country is the number of good players they have. Jack is a fantastic player, but it would be too much pressure on him. But just England's future depends on him. The other night, Silva didn't play for Spain in France, and on the bench you had Mata, Cazorla, Fabregas, and that's what you want to see from big football countries, you know, and that it doesn't depend just on one player.
You have Wilshere, Gibbs, Walcott, Oxlade-Chamberlain. It's a nonsense that good English players don't get a chance at top clubs, isn't it? Or is Arsenal the only club that gives English players a chance?
That's what we try to do. I believe as well what you forget many times about Spain, and what people don't talk a lot enough about it for me. The big advantage of a good national team is when it is based on two teams. And in starting lineup of Spain, many times you have 7 players from Barcelona, 3 or 4 players from Real Madrid. And the other night in France, Monreal was the only player who was not from Barcelona or Real Madrid. And that is a massive advantage when you go into a game like that, because you can play like a club, you know. And the advantages of one of the advantages of Spain is that their national team is built on 2 clubs. So if we can have 4, 5, 6 at one club, it will become a massive advantage for England. At the moment, all these players are spread everywhere. To look like a real team, you have moments like that where you play well for one half and suddenly something disappears, and the second half you have no team anymore, because the players come from too many clubs.
Just on Arsenal now and the run-in, you've worked very hard to get now back within striking distance of the top 4, but you've really also given yourself no more margin for error. I mean, you can't afford to, say, come up against a Reading side and not be able to break them down and go away with a draw.
You want to say we are under pressure? I say yes, and we want to use this pressure in a positive way. That means as a stimulating incitement to play our best football. And that's when you speak about maturity, that's where we can show that you have maturity.
Arsène, le PSG joue Barcelone la semaine prochaine. Il y a peu d'équipes qui ont battu le Barça depuis 3-4 ans. Arsenal l'a fait. On a l'impression qu'il n'y a qu'une manière de battre le Barça, c'est de jouer très bas, défensif, de résister avant de jouer en contre. Est-ce que c'est la seule manière?
Non, c'est pas la seule manière. Il y a une autre manière, c'est de jouer très haut, offensif, et de les exposer à leurs faiblesses qui sont défensives. Hein. Donc ce sera le choix qu'Ancelotti devra faire. Et je comprends très bien que c'est un choix très difficile et très risqué. En plus, je pense qu'il y a un autre problème quand même qui se pose en Champions League sur les matchs à élimination directe, c'est le poids du but à l'extérieur. À mon sens, le poids du but à l'extérieur est aujourd'hui trop élevé. Et il n'est plus un choix qui incite à attaquer, mais un choix qui incite à défendre à la maison. Et au départ, on avait créé le but à l'extérieur pour inciter les équipes qui jouent à l'extérieur pour attaquer. Mais on se rend compte aujourd'hui que cette loi aboutit pratiquement en contresens. Parce que Ancelotti se dira, purée, si déjà on ne prend pas de but contre le Barça à domicile, on aura une bonne chance de se qualifier.
Mais regardez, Chelsea a joué très bas. Vous,
Oui.
Arsenal, vous avez joué très bas aussi. On a l'impression que c'était...
Nous, on a joué très bas à Barcelone. On a essayé de jouer très haut, surtout en seconde mi-temps, quand on les a battus, avec une équipe très technique à domicile. Mais là-bas, tout simplement, j'avais fait une équipe pour garder la balle, mais on n'a pas réussi à avoir le ballon, parce qu'on n'avait pas trop le choix. Mais je pense que le Barça reste une des 3 meilleures équipes au monde. Et ils n'ont plus exactement la même rigueur de tactique qu'ils avaient il y a 3-4 ans, surtout défensivement.
Thanks everyone.